السلام عليكم طلاب، وهذا الفيديو التعريفي السابع لمادة الرواية. وياكم دكتورة هاله للصف الثالث لقسم اللغة الانكليزية كلية اللغات. And today we're gonna continue talking about or discussing the first novel, Hard Times, and we reach chapter 5, the keynote. And we are still talking in book 1, sewing. So you have to ask yourself, how is Cocktown described? So the keynote is talking about the city, the setting, the town where all these events are taking place. If we look at the situation between Sissy and Pitzer, who is lying? And the third question, it is, what is the 9 oils bottle? We will know all these answers in these slides. So this chapter describes the class distinction between the rich and the poor. The discrimination appears in describing the workers as the hands. The workers are not described as a human being, but they are described with what they do with their hands. So that's why any worker in a factory, he will be called a hand, thinking they are inanimate. However, wealthy people assume that the poor life is the poor life a convenient life with a suitable lifestyle, while in reality the workers have to live in very harsh conditions. So their conditions are not good because there were no rights, no laws, no legislations that give them any right for them that give any right for them at that time. The rich don't understand the reason behind the complaints of the poor and why the workers feel discontented. So the poor are not satisfied with their life because they need to work 24 hours to provide the minimum lifestyle, a good lifestyle, and sometimes they can't. They had to work with their wives, their children in shifts, and that's why they are complaining. They are not satisfied with the quality of their life in their society. But the rich people do not understand the sufferings of the poor one. So these are some pictures I took from the net, which kind of describe the way people were living at that time. There was always people at that time are always crowded and feeling tired and suffering, and the the shape of the town is full of smoke, and that's why everything looks gray and smoky because of the engines. It's not a very pleasing image, but it was London at that, or all the cities at that time, and how this fictitious town is described is the same in the same way of these towns. So in this chapter, the town's buildings are all look similar, with their red bricks appearing black to the smoke in the air. The river has turned purple from the materials that have been thrown into it. So the materials that that the trashes of the factory were thrown in the river, and that's why the color of the river turned purple. Mr. Gradgrind and Bounderby stop Sissy in the street while she is running from Pitzer. She was running away from Pitzer because Pitzer catch her in the street and tried to make her memorize what is a definition of a horse, but she was scared because of his way, and that's why she was running away from him. They inquire about the bottle in her hand, and she explains that it contains the 9 oils. And the 9 oils, we understand that it's a mixture of oils that she uses to help her father's stiff joints and muscles after his performances. So we understand that her father is suffering with his joints and muscles, with every performance, and that's why he needs the 9 oils. And it seems that this little girl is trying to help her father in any way possible. Sissy and Pitzer have a disagreement stemming from their differing perspectives on facts and imagination. Pitzer tries to teach Sissy facts in the same rigid manner as Mr. Gradgrind because he is the outcome of the school, so he was trying to treat Cecilia or Sissy in the same way of Mr. Gradgrind, but because he is her age, she was able to escape from him, and that's why she was scared. Meanwhile, he also mocks Sissy's father work in the circus, so he is trying to treat Cecilia or Sissy in the same way Mr. Gradgrind is doing that. And now we move on to the other word, which is chapter 6, Slurry's horsemanship. And Slurry's horsemanship is the name of the circus which Sissy's father is working. Also, we understand that Gradgrind Bounderbay is walking toward this place to talk with Cecilia's father to ask him to take take Sissy out of the school because they think that she is having a bad influence on the kids in the school. So you have to ask yourself, how does the description of the inn differ from that of the schoolroom? We will see that there is a kind of a description here of the inn where all the people of the circus gather, and we will understand that it's totally different from the description of the school. We also you can ask yourself, how does the room of the father of Sissy described, and what does such a description imply? So the circus is staying in a public house called the Pegasus Arms, while Sissy looks around for her father because Mr. Gradgrind asked her about the place of her father. Mr. Gradgrind and Mr. Bounderbay enter their room. The room is described as shabbily furnished, which implies the poor lives of these people. So they don't have a house. Sissy and her father, they don't have a house because they live in a circus. They move a lot, so they live in a hotel or a motel. And now the place where they live in is called Picas's Arms, and everyone in the circus be there. They are gathering there. So, and Sissy is looking around for her father. She cannot find him anywhere. While waiting for Mr. Job, Mr. Gradgrind and Bounderbay meet Mr. Childers, who explains that the father of Sissy has abandoned her for her own sake. So the father of Sissy left. He escaped and he's not coming back for Sissy. The father is getting older and thus becoming a burden, so Mr. Childers justifies the action of the father as an act of love, since the father wants the daughter to be educated and learn in a school away from the circus life, which is the reason behind not teaching her any apprentice that she might be benefited from in the circus. So what did Mr. Job do is that he escaped, and the people of the circus justify his escape with love, which means they understand that he left his daughter for her own sake because he thinks that he's becoming a burden for his child. He cannot provide for her anymore, and she's only taking care of his joints and muscles, and that is the justification the people of circus gave to Mr. Gradgrind when he asked about Cecilia's father. Vanderbilt accuses the father of being a vagabond and compares him to his own mother. So Vanderbilt, he did not understand this idea, and that's why he started putting some kind of accusation for Sissy's father and telling them that he does not deserve to be loved, and he just left his daughter just like his mother had left him. So we have some kind of pictures which shows the circus taken from the movie as well. So Sissy is giving two options. When Sissy came back, she was crying a lot. She understood that her father had left, and she was giving two options. She was giving two offers, actually. After discovering that her father had left, she can stay with Mr. Slurry and the circus owner and the entire compassionate company, or she can go and live with Mr. Gradgrind in his house to care for Mrs. Gradgrind and get the education her father desired for her, on the condition that she never mentions the circus again. So Mr. Gradgrind, after seeing that the father had left his daughter, he was feeling for her. He was feeling sad, but he did not want to show that. And that's why he offered her to take her out of the circus and teach her facts in his house, and she can take care of Mrs. Gradgrind since she's sick, but on one condition, that she never mentions the circus again, and she should not go to them again. Mr. Slurry, the owner of the circus, he welcomes Cecilia or Sissy, and he said that he is going to consider her as his daughter and help her a lot. But Cecilia chooses to reside in Mr. Gradgrind's house, not because she wants to, but because it is her father's wish for her to receive an education. And there is another reason, is to wait for her father if he decides to come back for her. She maintains the bottle of 9 oils as her father's only surviving memory. So, so Cecilia here she was crying, and she accepts Mr. Gradgrind's condition not to see the people of the circus anymore, because of 2 reasons. And these 2 reasons are connected to her love for her father. She thinks that it's her father's wish, and that's why she's doing it. And second, because just like anyone in the circus, she thinks that her father had left her because he loves her. She believes that one day he will come back, and she understands that he will look for her in Mr. Gradgrind's house because it's stable and everyone knows where that house is. But she keeps the bottle of 9 oils as the only memory from her father. So by this we end فيديو رقم 7 لمادة الرواية، قسم اللغة الإنجليزية، كلية اللغات. شكرا جزيلا.